Hello, hello. All right, so I went live last night and it did all of zero because I did not keep the video. I don't know what happened, but that's okay. I'm doing it again. So for those of you who missed me this morning, you'll be able to watch the replay. So it's not a big deal. Y'all still get the video, and I'm going to go over the same stuff. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Raven Woods, and I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks, the IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. So last night, when it did not save, I basically went over what you should kind of think about when it comes to a well-written IEP, and also what goals should somewhat look like, okay? And what SMART goals are. And it was interesting, with those who were on with me last night, how they said that, oh my gosh, this just made me realize that my IEP is not what I thought it was. Okay. So what I did was I shared my screen. I showed you a little bit of what I have put in for mine as far as like services and that sort of thing. And then I created a PDF in regards to reading, just a sample of how things should somewhat look like and how it can also be tweaked. Okay. So it'll kind of just give you an eye-opening of how things can look. And then, how you can go about, kind of changing that. Does that make sense? All right. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you, but for those of you who are new to seeing me live, post a 1 below. I want to get to know you. I want to know who you are, what you're about, tell us about your kids. If you're not on the group, definitely head over there and join that. And that's where a lot of communication and community comes into play over there. And if you're an oldie but goodie, you know the drill. Post a 2 below. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to flip my screen. I'm going to show you just how kind of things should look as far as maybe services, accommodations, like how it should be written out. And then we'll go from there. All right, so this is how a service page looks in my state, and they can look differently. Just make sure that they're very specific and how they are written. Okay, so for example, adult proximity. My daughter has a one-on-one. All right, and this IEP has been updated, but these things are pretty much the same. So adult proximity, a one-on-one, adult support for supervision, safety, behavior, redirection, and task. All right, so I made it clear that that person is not going to teach. Okay. And then obviously over on amount of time, it says daily, and then location is general, special education classroom, and within transitions. Okay. And then, it just goes down, she's an older girl. So I made sure to put, the daily women things in there. And I made sure to itemize it because for some reason they don't do it. And so I had to make sure it was itemized and that she doesn't need it anymore. I just haven't taken it out, and I'm not going to take it out because you never know when things can transition or change. So I wanted it in place. And unfortunately, I had to step-by-step it for them. But that's what has to go into an IEP for you guys. And making sure that your child's getting what's needed and appropriate. Okay, so moving down, I get a daily communication sheet that's sent home from her private ABA, and Skylar actually is taught mostly 90% of the time by a BCBA or a BCABA versus the special education teacher because there wasn't a whole lot of teaching going on. So I made sure to put something in place that was 100% one-on-one. And then when she's in gen ed, it's in gen ed. Okay. And then I have a glasses log because she, for many years, came home and her glasses were broke. And so these are the petty things that you actually can put into an IEP when things start annoying the hell out of you. But I'm showing you this so that you can see that these are how tedious and how IEPs are not a one-size-fits-all. You can put in whatever you want. Okay. Then it goes down to related service providers. Hi, Kamisha. And how they are to communicate. And that is weekly via email. And they also show me work in that email so I can see sample work. Okay. And then just moving down to enlarge print to that 20-point type paper. That has now changed to regular paper, but this is the type of things that you want to think about when you're putting services in, accommodations, and so forth. She also gets functional living in the ABA curriculum. And hi, Stephanie. How are you? Welcome. Definitely post a one below so I know you're new, and I'm just excited to have you. Welcome. And so basically it goes into detail on her functional living skills. And basically what that's saying there is I requested, so for example, today I will get what Skylar's going to be doing next week. I will get a list of what she's doing Monday through Friday for next week. But I'll also today get what she did, how she did this past week. Okay. So I made sure to have that where I was going to get it in writing. All right. And then, of course, I get the normal progress reports, which is per IDEA and law. And I also, like I said, I get the weekly service provider emails and paperwork or samples, whatever you want to call it. And then I also get daily communication sheets. Okay. I also get, hi, how are you, Doris? Is it Doris? Am I saying that right? Correct me if I'm not. And then, I'm really big on, she now gets what's called a body sheet. All right. Because many times she came home with bruises and things like that. And I get at times she does do self-inflicting behavior. She doesn't do it to other people, but she does to herself. And this is not frequent anymore. However, I have a body sheet because the school can be very vindictive. This is across the board. And so I want a body sheet. I actually will take a time-stamped picture of her as she walks out the door. Yeah, it's that petty, but dependent on your situation. And the more you advocate, the more you are on this, the more you're going to have to cover your you-know-what. Okay? So these are her services, and these are actually up to date, but things have changed because I've put some amendments in and that sort of thing. I actually, with her IEP, I actually will take everything and I will download it and create a doc versus having a PDF, and I will mark it the hell up. All right. And then I send it to them and say, okay, change this, and this. One of the things that you want to make sure is clear is what they have, what is given, and how many times a week and how many minutes, okay? And so, for example, she gets reading 60 minutes a day for 5 days per week. Adaptive, hi Claude, is it Claude? And hi Candace, how are you? Welcome. So if you're hopping on, post a 1 below if you're new, post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie, and welcome if you're new. The other thing that I want to go over is, like, for example, she gets adaptive PE. She still gets regular PE, dance, physical therapy, speech, occupational, you can see the minutes and times per week. And so it just depends on your child and their needs and what you're really looking for. This is actually enough for her, and it's sufficient. Okay. So on this next page, because Skylar gets quite a bit, they had to add it to the end. And make sure that it was as detailed as possible. So it goes into more detail on 60 minutes of reading a day, 60 minutes of direct specialized instruction for science, social studies, math, and then she gets 60 minutes twice a week for speech, 45 minutes twice a week for dance. She gets 45 minutes once a week for PT, 45 minutes twice a week for adaptive PE, 40 minutes twice a week for occupational therapy. Then she also gets 900 minutes a week, which is 15 hours of extended ABA services after school and an hour of daily living instruction. And if you can see, it says right here, ABA services are to be provided by a BCBA or a BCABA. I was very strict about that. It was a fight, but it was definitely something I wanted put in there. And then I also wanted in there that she gets 45 minutes twice a week in typing and keyboarding. And then I said with the support of an OT. And the reason I said that is because I wanted the OT to go with her, not an aide, not anybody else. Because the person working with her with typing is the OT. So who better to send her and take her? That was a fight too, because OTs are hard to come by. OTs are, very very much used within the county, and so they have less time to do certain things. So that was a fight, especially in keeping the same OT that does her OT twice a week. But we got it. Okay, so that's kind of just showing you an overview of things that you want to be specific with. I am going to take this down and I'm going to show you now. Reading goals, a PDF that I created in regards to goals and how they should be measurably written. So I'll share my screen to talk to you about that really quick, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail, okay? So if you're hopping on, if you're new, post a 1 below. If you're new, post a 2 below. If you're an oldie but goodie, say hello. I want to get to know you. If you are not a member of my group, head over to Autism Mama Rocks the IEP group. It's a really great place to collaborate, to talk. It has a very good community experience. I'm actually extremely active within the group, so it's not one of those groups where I'm not active at all. And so for those of you who are new, my name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks IEP. I am an IEP expert and certified with COPA and Rights Law trained. And I help parents become knowledgeable and confident to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. And I am that aggressive personality that I go into something, I give it my all, I look it over, I make sure it's correct, I make sure I'm very tedious and OCD in reference to the IEP and how it's written, how it looks, what the writing is in it, the verbiage, and so forth. And I'm very passionate about it, but I'm also that aggressor. I go after it, and I don't look back. And I want parents to be more and more aggressive when it comes to the IEP, when it comes to the special education process, because so many parents are used and abused, gaslighted. You're actually probably a outgoing personality. I've heard this from so many people, but yet you get into the IEP meeting and you just kind of freeze, and that's totally normal. I've been there, done that, and even where I am now, I still get nervous, but it's one of those things where I want parents to really just go after it and go after what their gut says and just know what to do and understand the process. And that's where things are getting kind of hiccupy that I'm finding in so many people that I'm working with, is they are hell-bent on advocating. They feel that they've got it down. They did what I did and got their Google PhD and everything that they've researched and more. But the problem I'm finding, and I'm just going to keep it real with you, is there's so much Google PhD and research going on that you have to understand that, number one, a lot of these pages have not been updated in years, okay? Number two, yes, it gives you a lot of information. I don't deter from that. What I want you to know is it doesn't teach you the process. It doesn't teach you how to walk into that meeting and run it like the CEO that you should, and who better to run that meeting than you? Why allow them to run a meeting in reference to your child because you know them best? If you run that meeting, then things are going to be a lot more productive. Things are going to be individually discussed versus everybody talk at once, which is chaotic and a mess. And it keeps things one-on-one. Other people shut up and you have that direct conversation. And so that's what I teach in my course. That's what I teach when I work with people one-on-one. And the goal is to understand the whole process, to understand how to walk into that meeting, take charge, and get things done. What you need to, what I call in my trademark PPPN, which is prepare and plan, present, persuade, and negotiate. And if you understand that process of what you need to do when you go in there, what you need to have, why it's so important to go back to the basics no matter where you are in the IEP process, because those 60 days that I give you and explain in the course, but bottom line, that you take to get things together, do what I tell you to do in reference to evaluations and more of everything you got to ask for and more. Those 60 days that you're kind of on hold is so worth it, because you'll waste so much more time just keeping it going, even if you're 6 years into the IEP. So worth it. It's kind of like in life. Sometimes it's just better to go back to the basics because they work better versus complicate things. So anyway, long story short, let me share my screen with you one more time. Okay, you guys did not need to see that. That is my desktop, okay? You don't have a desktop like that, but let me pull this up. Let me see if it pull up now. Okay, there we go. All right, so if you can't see this, let me know over in the comments and I will kind of, break it down. But I created this PDF to show parents. This is in reference to reading. It's something that I've recently been fighting for. This is not in reference to my child. It's just kind of a basic of how you can look at things and actually how I'm going to get ready to change it up, because I'm one of those people. I create something, look at it, and then I kind of tweak it because it's not perfect. Like I said, I'm OCD with it. But so anyway, how goals should look, okay, is they don't have to look like all that written crap that is put in an IEP. And I'll show you some goals that my daughter used to have that were complete shit. And I'll show you how they shouldn't be written, okay? But you should always have an area, okay? An area of which they're going to learn, okay? And then conditions, they don't have to be written in, paragraph format, all right? Schools are used to doing that. That's what they typically do, but they need to be open to change things up, because if you think about it, the I in individual is just that. Individual education plan. This has to be a unique plan for your child, not anybody else, and not catered to anybody else, okay? So, for example, I would love to have a copy. Okay. I actually give all my PDFs to my course students. I don't post a lot of my files to the page or the group, just because, I'm always adding to my course, and I let them, kind of have that special thing that I do, if that makes sense. But I do have a lot of stuff on my website in the education vault that you can check out, Stephanie, okay? Okay, so phonological awareness is a big thing. Okay, there's 6 elements in reading, all right, and phonological awareness is a big one. Okay, so under conditions is the what. What is that child going to do? Okay, what is it that you're expecting of that child and that you want mastery from? Okay, so given blank words and non-words with 4 phonemes, I can't even say that word well, sounds, which basically sounds, okay? And that's why I put that in parentheses. That's how specific you have to be. So phonemes, or however you say it, is sounds. But I put sounds in parentheses so it's clear, all right? So SMART means specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time limited. Some people say time bound, but it's really time limited if you want to take, the accuracy of it. So anyway, and then I'm specific. Okay, I don't know what I did. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right, so then I said, I just put a J for the person. So you put your child's name, and then you said, we'll say the complete word table at a rate of 12 correct words per minute. And then you want to bullet point anything that you want to be specific about. Then, and that goes under target observable behavior. So that's what you're observing from what the conditions state, which is the what they're supposed to do. Okay. Then you move on to criteria for performance, which should be basically at a specific level of performance. So hear me here, because this is important. Many times in IEPs, you will see 95% accuracy, 80%, 70%, etc., right? Well, you also may see 9 out of 10, 9/10, 8/10, whatever, 3 out of 5 trials, 3 out of 5 times, 3 out of 4 times. They're very, very different. Don't look at 90% accuracy as 9 out of 10 times, even though mathematically that's how it looks. Okay, so 95%, you have to then be specific of over 5 consecutive sessions. Something has to be over 5, never under 5. Okay, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3. No, they have to at least be able to do it 5 consecutive times and more. Okay. And another thing that I'm going to be adding to this is, number 1, I'm going to be specific on the 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 for my group that I'm going to post this in. But also, when it says 5 consecutive sessions, or it can say, 5 trials as seen by speech therapist, as seen by reading therapist, or it could say as data collected by reading specialists. But you want to also specify where and how, which I'm adding to this. So I want to show you how these are our goals, and they're good, but there's stuff missing. So I want you to see that. That's what I'm showing you. So I'm adding, where is this happening and how? So it says 95% accuracy, or again, it can say 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, whatever. And then over 5 consecutive sessions. I'm a big one on, over 9 or 10 consecutive sessions. I like to push it. And then I also like to say with 5 separate people, names need to be documented and presented to parent on a weekly basis. You can also put things like over 5 consecutive sessions, per data collected by reading specialist. And then it needs to say in reading room or wherever it's going to take place. Okay. And then, you can also specify in goals of how they're going to present this to you outside of progress reports so that you're updated. Like I'm updated by the reading, OT, PT, speech, dance, and adaptive PE on a weekly basis via email, as you saw on the services that I get. So you want to make sure it is very, very specific. Okay. So this one is specific, but I need to add 2 more sections, which is how data is going to be collected, meaning data collected by the service provider or data collected by how many sessions. So here I put, so you can see 3 out of 5 opportunities, 4 out of 5 opportunities, again, over 5 consecutive sessions. So see the different wording you can use. So session, opportunities. It's important to understand what those mean. So sessions is how many times they go into the speech therapist. So 5 separate sessions is what that means, because one session is one reading day, you know what I mean? So if you get reading every day, then one session is Monday, So basically if it's done Monday through Friday, that's 5 sessions, and supposedly it should be at whatever accuracy. So another thing that's missing here is when, time limitation. So I'm showing you these because it's what I call half-assed. And I'm adding more because there's no time limitation on this. Do you see that? And but it is say 95% accuracy, 85, etc. See how there's 4 here? So in another area, there should be 95% accuracy, and that should be the yearly. 85 can be, because I always tell parents, go to IEPs and have your IEPs on a quarterly basis so that you keep up with those progress reports. Here in Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC metropolitan area, it's a big area, so things are very, there's just so much going on with special education. So, it's big to be, on top of things when it comes to that, because it gets a lot more complicated. But then it's a lot more complicated with smaller towns, because then things become excuses of, oh, we don't offer that because that's not available, when that's not accurate either. So be specific on what you want. So quarterly IEPs, here in my area, every 9 weeks, report cards are given out. So that's when a progress report has to be given out by law. Okay. If they don't, then you can actually make a state complaint, and that's actually a big deal. So I put 4 here, so that could be, at the first quarter, 75% can be at the second, 85 could be at the third, and 95% is at the yearly. Okay. Because even though you can have quarterly IEPs, you still have your annual. All right. So this just kind of goes into detail in reference to all the 6 areas, elements of reading, which is phonological awareness, phonics and decoding, fluency, vocabulary comprehension, and written expression, which is how they write out what they read, what they understand, kind of like a book report, etc. And then comprehension is obviously how they comprehend that information. If your child is having any issues with reading, another thing that you want to add that so many people miss, and if you want to look up in your area what's called Linda Mood Bell, if anybody wants to type that in the comments so people can look it up, it's Linda Mood, Mood, Bell, Bell. They're actually all over the United States. There's one here in Northern Virginia. They are fabulous, and their program is amazing. They have a very, very, very high success rate. Very expensive. I actually recently fought for this and received one 12-week session that my daughter starts over the summer. It's $34,000 for a 12-week session here in Northern Virginia. It could vary per state. I'm fighting for 2 more sessions. And I'm cool with fighting for it because it's worth it. And if your child is struggling in reading and you have a history of it and you have a history of them not making progress, once you have history of a school system, thank you, Stephanie, I appreciate that. Yes, that's the name. So basically, once you have a history and you can show that there hasn't been progress, someone recently mentioned on my group, which if you aren't members of the group, head over there, where she said, hey, you know, I noticed on my child's evaluation and progress that there hadn't been any progress in 2 years. So when she mentioned it to the school system said, oh, no big deal. Are you kidding me? I mean, these are the things that they say that is unreal. And then she's questioning on the group, which she should, because so this is where I was, you know, parents are, is this right? Are they, you know, thinking that they're on your child's side and doing what they should be doing, what their job is, but they're not. And so you have to know when they're gaslighting, when they're full of shit, and that you need, as the parent, need to step up. And I mean, step up. And, it's not something that when you step up, it's not something that is kind and sweet and loving. It is something where you're saying, oh, hell no, that is not accurate. 2 years of not making progress. That means the school system is having low expectations of my child, which is against what IDEA states. You're supposed to have high expectations of my child. Plus, not only are you supposed to have high expectations, you're supposed to have the same expectations for my child with a disability, any child with a disability, in fact, as you do for children who don't have special needs. So how dare you say that 2 years of non-progress is okay, don't worry about it, telling the parent, because you don't want to take responsibility, because you don't want to actually do the work, because you failed that child. When there's 2 years of non-progress, that's called that child is not receiving faith at that time. That is not a free and appropriate education because they are not making progress. The whole point of the IEP goals is to make sufficient progress. Now, you do have to take what's called the impact of the child's disability into consideration, but that doesn't mean no progress happens. There always should be progress. If that's slow, if that's fast, if that's medium, whatever you want to call it, fine, dependent on your child. But no progress is unacceptable. Unacceptable. So even if you need to catch it at the 9 week, if you guys have 9 weeks, where you get progress. So keep your progress reports and look at them. Has there been progress? If there hasn't, you get on it right then, because these are goals everybody on the team agreed to. Why aren't you making progress? What are you doing wrong? This isn't my child. They're not teaching themselves. You're teaching them. So what are you doing wrong that my child is not making any progress? None. And then when they say your child is making progress and goals, you make sure that that's validated, meaning ask them for video of your child doing it 5 consecutive times. Ask for video of, them come in and watch them do it 5 consecutive times. You be one of the people, like I said, I'm going to be adding to these goals for my course members and adding it as a PDF. You need to make sure that you are put into the goals. Okay. So if it says 5 consecutive sessions, like I said, I'm adding where and with who. 5 consecutive sessions with just one person, the reading specialist, or 5 consecutive sessions with multiple people. And then you have to name those people. Okay. So that can be multiple service providers within your, that work with your child. So that could be OT, PT, speech, whatever the case may be. So make sure that you not only add where this is happening, where those goals are happening at, but you also want to add with who and how many who's. Okay. So in mine, we have just added, the occupational therapist, physical therapist, reading therapist, myself, and one other, so of their choice, and then they just have to label it. because, you know, sometimes it can be hard to get people together, but I just made it all her service providers. Okay. And then I have to be one of those people. If you ever question goals, so say you feel like the school system is bullshitting you, which they do a lot. I bring my daughter into the IEP and say, oh, okay, show me. Of course, you make your child feel amazing and wonderful and that they're going to show you something cool. And they come into the meeting and they see people that are familiar that work with them, and some unfamiliar, but they feel comfortable because you're there, and you're going to say, hey, show mommy or daddy, da, 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 da. All right. So if the goal is to read 2 complete sentences with 0 prompts, your child should be able to read 2 complete sentences with 0 prompts in front of everybody. If it says 2 to 3, you never want something to say 2 to 3 or 2 to 5. No, it's a straight up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So you want to make sure that it's specific in that way as well. Goals are very difficult to write because it can be very hard and complicated. And like I tell my course members, and students is it's the same thing with the IEP process. It's one of those things, I've felt this way so many times, where, because people who know, you know, somewhat about my story, it was 6.5 years of hell. So I don't speak as a certified advocate. Honestly, I speak as a mother of a child with autism. And again, this page is for any child with an IEP, not just autism. But I speak as a mother of a child with autism that has been seriously in the trenches, just like all of you. Obviously, my story is different than yours, but I dealt with 6.5 years of complete and utter hell. And that's really where my advocacy and passion comes from, is actually trial and error and doing it and creating my trademarked course and program that includes my PPPN, which is prepare, plan, present, persuade, and negotiate. Because if you plan and prepare in the right way, which is it's a total foreign language, then you probably think it is. When you present in the right way, meaning be the CEO of that meeting, you run that meeting. And then when you present in the right way, you have to be really good at persuading them. And then I always say negotiate if you have to. And then understand what a win is, okay? So for example, if your child's struggling with reading, you have no reading specialist in play, you're asking for 3 days a week of 45 minutes. I don't like the whole 30-minute thing. School systems seem to like to always do 1 day at 30 minutes, 2 days at 30 minutes. 30 minutes is ridiculous because children with special needs need time to get comfortable in their situation and working with somebody different outside of who they normally work with, even though if it may be on a daily basis. The transition to the reading room, to the speech room, whatever. So 10 to 15 minutes of those 30 minutes is transition, getting comfortable, getting acclimated with the change. And children with special needs need that time to get acclimated so behavior issues don't happen. So bottom line, you need more than 30 minutes or at minimum 45, because the argument is it takes 10 to 15 minutes for them to get acclimated. They have special needs. This is an individual plan, and 30 minutes is not sufficient because really they're only getting 15 to 20. And it also takes that specialist, because typically they're not completely prepared, to start right away at that 30 minutes. It takes them, time as well. You have to be realistic with this, just like, you have to be realistic with goals. You have to be realistic in your services and the time frame in which it happens. And their argument on their side, which I teach my parents, is if it's kind of like things are more successfully done when you start from the bottom to the top, not top to the bottom. Okay. So for example, what is the result, and then work backwards. All right. That's how you accomplish things so much more better, proficient, effective, etc. And you're able to take the goal and work backwards of where you're going to start to meet that goal. Okay. And so the plan of action is then put in place a lot better, which comes with, my whole process. So that's where I kind of say that I'm a little bit different than others, when it comes to IEP and advocacy, because I've learned, again, through trial and error, not just becoming certified later on in life, that the process is key. If you understand the process, eventually it may be one of those things where you have a blank, you have a blank, you have a blank, and then all of a sudden you get it. And then once you get it, it's a no-brainer. It's a rinse and repeat, and practice makes perfect. And the thing about an IEP is, say you screw up in one, you got another chance to do another and another and another. You can ask for an IEP at any time. So remember that and keep that in mind so that you have a well-written and good IEP and that it is individualized for your child. So as we talked about today and recapping, we talked about what real goals should look like, the stuff you have to add and why, so that they're measurable and specific and actionable, and again, time limited. Make sure you know the who is doing it, what it is and what it looks like, where it's at and takes place, how much, and by when. So that is important. And then be specific in services, accommodations, and modifications and what they look like. Like you saw, I even have reading glasses in my accommodations and modifications, that they are to document those glasses got to school and that they were in her backpack coming home. That's how petty you actually have to be, especially if problems arise. And that's why changes happen and amendments happen to IEPs all the time. Okay, this has become a problem. All right, this needs to be added to the IEP. All right, so don't be afraid to do that. All right. And then well-written IEPs goes hand in hand with what we just spoke about in reference to goals, but also well-written in the way they are verbalized and read. So how it is written is so imperative. All right. I'll tell you recent situations that have come up with people that I've worked with is they said the school system, and they agreed in the IEP that their child would get OT, PT, whatever. And it was just left at that. But nothing was said about that being given on a one-on-one, which should be just a no-brainer. But school systems are now wording things differently so that they can actually do what's called group therapy, and it doesn't work. So just take your child who may be, say, nonverbal. How do you put that child with 5 other students? Typically it's 5 to 6 other students, or 4 to 5 students, so that they have kind of a 5 to 6 numbers. And, how is that going to be effective to your nonverbal child working with other students? I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but not something that should be put in place in regards to that specific service that child needs. And so that child needs one-on-one. I mean, speech, OT, PT, all those have to be, dance, music therapy, have to be individualized, because that's a specific need that your child has, and your child's needs is different than somebody else's needs. So how do you teach a group based off their individual needs in a 30-minute, 45-minute time frame? There's no way. That's not even possible. So progress is going to be limited and non-existent. So make sure that it's specified that it's one-on-one with the speech therapist, occupational therapist, etc. And you have to put that into your IEP. All right. So now I'm going to take some questions and then I'm going to hop off here. So again, if you are new to my page, post a 1 below. A 1 below. Tell me who you are. Say hello. If you're not part of the group, go to Autism Mama Rocks IEP group and join that. It's a great community experience and collaboration, and I'm very active within the group. If you are an oldie but goodie, you know the drill. Posted 2 below. Say hello. And so welcome to all our new members. We have Stephanie. Welcome, welcome. You've been a great help. We have Darice. Where are you guys from? We have Candace and Claude. Is it Claude? Am I saying that right? We have Mark. Hey, Mark, haven't seen you in a long time. How you been? We have Susanna. How are you? How are you? I don't know if some of you are new or old because I'm not seeing it. I don't see those 1 and 2s. I see some. I have Stephanie said I would love a copy. I think I explained that to you already. Jesse, hey girl, how are you? Hey Anitra. We have, thank you for putting Linda Mood Bell. For those of you hopping on, Linda Mood Bell is an amazing reading company, and they're all over the United States, and they have a very, very, very high success rate, which is why they're so expensive. But you can actually fight the school to get it paid for if you have your documents. D, welcome, welcome. Are you new? I see, and people change their pictures, so then I'm like, are you new? Are you old? A child with IEP, can they be excluded from FSA? Tell me what FSA means to you, because so many people abbreviate and it means different stuff to them. Hey, Precious, how are you? Hopefully you got my post over on the course group. Then we have, okay, Stephanie's still there. Is it Burhane? Am I saying that right? Welcome. Let me know if I said your name wrong and I will correct that. We have Carrie. She's new from Southern. See, this is what I want, guys. She's from Southern California. 2 with IEPs, 1 with a 504, and you're finishing your BA in special ed. Awesome. Hopefully you're going to come in as a different teacher, but I think you're going to, you know, myself as a teacher, a previous teacher, you're going to find that administration is going to kind of run your life, and as many special education teachers as we need that are amazing, it's difficult because you feel like you're between a rock and a hard place, between advocating for a child and doing what's right and your job. And administration actually teaches teachers, I know because I was in one of those meetings as a teacher back in the day, is basically they teach you to not do emails, and parents are now doing straight up emails, which they're allowed to. And, you know, then you're taught not to do emails. Then you're limited on what you can say, and it becomes this big clusterfuck. And so just be careful, you know, especially being a special education teacher. Much easier to be a general ed teacher. But just be careful. There's so many different things. And, you know, the best thing that you can do, Carrie, just if you want my 2 cents, is learn how to properly write an IEP and write SMART goals. Because as parents learn, they're going to be fighting it, and you're going to have to be able to step up to the plate. Just my 2 cents from a mom. Kamisha, in the IEP meeting, if the person, how writing the minutes, can I change her? I don't understand what you mean by that. Tell me what you mean. Doris says, thanks so much for this. I have learned so much in this session. I'm waiting to get my son's IEP back for review, and we'll definitely review it with eyes from today's session. From Georgia, welcome. What do you mean you're waiting on getting it back? You should leave with it in your IEP with the draft. Leave with it, not get one in before the IEP, but leave with it. Sarah says, hi, it's been a while. I really need to reach out for some help for my son. Yeah, just PM me. And we'll set up a time, or I can post the discovery call link. But I need to go in and update my availability. So, because I've just been so freaking crazy lately, because just so you guys know, I'm having a free webinar next Wednesday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't registered, PM me, or I'll post it below, and definitely get registered. It's on the 3 common and costly mistakes parents make before and in the IEP meeting, plus ESY, the fight and why your child needs it now. It's not too late. The reason I'm doing this webinar is so that you can get it this summer. I feel personally that all children with special needs need ESY, and parents think that that's limited in regards to how much they can get. And then the school systems will say, oh, we only offer it between this time and this time. And that's in fact not true. Again, it's individualized. So if you have not registered for the webinar, definitely do that. It is totally new from the one I did last month. Some is the same, some is very different. So definitely get registered. I'll post the link below. I'll also post the link to my discovery call. And if you want to PM me to see if you can get in before a discovery call is available, just PM me. Okay? So definitely reach out, Sarah. Precious says, hey, Raven, thank you. Can I request that my child not be floated around to 5 different one-to-ones? Yes, you absolutely can. Again, we can talk about that in the course in regards to what you need to do to back that up. Carrie says, yes, I want to build my own inclusion school or work in a charter. I completely agree. Mark says, one, Houston, Texas. Does all this apply to charter schools or only public schools? No, charter schools are actually part of the public school system. Doris says, I have the draft IEP, but updates. When did you get the draft? Just so I know. Had to be made, updates had to be made, and OT and speech goals. What's ST? Goals and other updates from the IEP meeting. Kamisha says, the person write the minutes in the computer. What minutes? For services? Carrie says charter schools are public schools. They have to follow IDEA. That's right. That's what I just said. So that's absolutely, absolutely correct. And yeah. So if you have any more questions, I'll stick on here for maybe 5 more minutes. And actually, I have to go in 2 minutes because I have a Zoom with my daughter's speech therapist to go over goals. So I do have to jump off here so that I make that meeting. And okay, so it's SP for speech at meeting on Thursday. So you did get the draft at the meeting on Thursday. They didn't provide it to you in advance. That's a good thing because draft IEPs should never be given in advance. That's the school system taking everything on themselves and doing the draft, and that is wrong. Okay, they're basically saying, screw you. You're not part of the team. We're doing this. Sign it, and then acting like they're going over it in the IEP meeting. No. Okay, you say no to that. Do not provide me with a draft. I am a major member of the IEP team, and I am going to be part of that IEP. So no IEP should be drafted, written, etc. until I'm there in the meeting. Okay, so all right, if you have any questions, post below. I will post the discovery call link. I will post the webinar link. Make sure you register for the webinar, okay? There will be a free gift at the end, and I also obviously have an announcement, which many of you know about, which I'm excited about because things are now opening up for a period of time, and I want you guys to get ESY. It's so imperative and important, and it's convenient for you as well, especially if you work. So why not fight for it, especially if your child does qualify and they qualify even though they may be passing, and they qualify even though they may not have regressed. Okay, so I will talk to you guys soon, and I'm so glad. This is great. Now I know that going live during the day is great, but I didn't realize that. I always went live at night. And I'm seeing that during the day is a good time. Is this a good time for you guys? I do have to hop off because I have this meeting in 3 minutes. But post below if you're still on, if this at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is a good time for you. And if not, tell me a good time for you so I can start going live a couple times throughout the day if I have to. Because sometimes I don't want to go live at 8 p.m. when I want to spend time with my family. So if during the day is better and people can watch the replay, that's awesome, right? So let me know. I always want to know what your all's thoughts are. And, I'll always be willing to change things up in accordance to what works for you. So that's why I'm doing what I do. So thank you guys. And I will post those links after my meeting with the speech therapist. Okay. But post below any questions you have, post below. Also, times that work for you during the day, and I will try and strive to accommodate you. Okay? I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.